Is that Gerald in the back?
No,
he's gonna come back in.
he's walking in right now.
Oh yeah, I was like, that doesn't look like he doesn't look like Gerald.
Hello, hello.
Hello, we hear you.
Okay.
We hear you. I heard about your technical issues.
Yeah, the sound. We did a open mic last night and just blew everything and everybody away.
That's supposed to go.
Including your on board. Yeah,
well,
including your on board.
Hopefully we'll be able to do a concert in Santa Fe. So.
Yeah, that's what I was telling them. We'd love to host you when we can.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully.
Hey,
we got a big surprise for you.
Yay! I know it. Hey, my man, how you doing?
Oh man, there you are.
There you are.
How you been, Ashkan?
Good, right, man. All good. Good to see you. You know Nat. You remember Nat? What? You remember Nat?
Remember Nat?
I look like Ash's twin, his ugly twin.
Oh, okay, there he is.
There we go. Yeah. I'm in my closet, so
yeah,
it's glamorous with the LA behind me, But that's not the real thing, though, So hide it from my kids so I can hear the metal.
Jessica, just let us know so we can tone down and not be too metal.
Yeah, you're having a nice family reunion, so I didn't want to interrupt.
That's right. Sorry, yeah.
No, it's all good. I'll get started just with some housekeeping and introductions. Thank you everyone for being here for this Rez Metal event. This is a National Endowment for the Arts Big Read event, sponsored by Santa Fe Public Library Friends and community partners. Thank you for making this event possible. The structure of this event will first be introductions, then a discussion with Rez Metal band I Don't Konform, author, director, and metalheads, Ashkan's Sultani Stone and Natale Zappia. After the interview, we will have some time to take any comments or questions. And to close the event, we'll have a song from Rez Metal band I Don't Konform. If you have any technical difficulties, feel free to type in your concern in the chat box. We'll assist you there. And to ask a question, make a comment, feel free to raise your hand and we can unmute you to talk, or you can write it in the Q&A box or chat box, and I will read your question for you. Sultani Stone is the founding director of the Film Studies program at Weber State University. He is a documentary filmmaker, producer, and director of the films Rez Metal, Rock Behind the Wall, I Know You Well, and King Cole. Nat Zappia is an associate professor of history and director of the Institute for Sustainability at California State University, Northridge, and is the author of Traders and Raiders, the Indigenous World of the Colorado Basin. I Don't Konform is a band born out of the discontent and frustration of life on a Native American reservation, where opportunity is limited and potential wasted, while resources are mismanaged by tribal government who would rather line their pockets and misappropriate funds for their own personal benefit than take care of their people. Originally brought together in 2008 by guys with similar backgrounds and interests, with an idea of bringing the raw energy and aggression back to the underground heavy metal scene, with some not so politically correct opinions and a non-conformist attitude. Please welcome Ash, Nat, Kyle, and the rest of I Don't Konform. Do you want to say your names?
My name is Darren Tuchuina, also known as Destroy.
Yeah.
Destroy, yeah. And Gerald.
Gerald
Cecil is behind the scenes over here.
Brains.
Yeah. A person who, both of them, Kyle and Gerald, are prominently appeared both in film and book, of course. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, to start, for those attending who may not be familiar, what is Rez Metal?
Metal music created On the Res by us reservation rejects, we call it. Yeah, it's pretty much heavy metal, rock and roll created back home on the Res, you know, coming out of growing up there, living there, and, you know, what comes out through our music. It's a term of the area, reservation metal, you know, that's how I think of it now anyway.
I feel the same way. I've been playing since 1992 with different bands that I've grown up with and had started. Moved down here to Phoenix and to Flagstaff, played in around those areas. The bands I came down here to Phoenix and started playing with were all white metal bands and stuff like that, but power aggressive metal, different things like that. But I've always been in bands back home. You know, I've always played metal when I was growing up, listening to it. Metal was always like kind of like the dominant music stream that was influencing my youth. And when I started finally playing, you know, I started loving what I was doing. And then we didn't have venues. We didn't have a lot of people backing us. A lot of people thought that we're like, you know, this is just a phase. You guys are just gonna give it up. You're just gonna, you know, you guys gotta focus on, you know, living a traditional life. You gotta, you know, find a job too. You know, you guys gotta, you know, things like that out of the normal type of lifestyle. And then, but if you're if you're trying to play music and representing what you love, you really don't find that there on the reservation. That's where we're at. That's when I got this band.
Yeah, like being up there and trying to promote yourself on the Res is probably the most difficult thing you can do. The music itself starts there, and you know, you grow up and you play outside. You know, doesn't matter if it's 90, 100 degrees outside, or it's 20 degrees to 0 degrees. You know, you're playing it because you love it, and you know that's all you can do on the reservation. You know, is the only way to forget about things is play loud music. So that's for me. That's how it came about for me to start doing that. You know, put my focus into guitar and block everything else out.
Mind you, there's like on Rez, it's so rural. Like some musicians that live way out there with no electricity, no running water. So when they do get a whole musical equipment or music, tape, CDs, you know, they're playing it constantly. You know, they're constantly just like it's a loop. They're looping it every day, whether it be rap, country, or anything. But as far as to get musical equipment, that's another thing. It's so desolate at times that you have to wait just to go travel somewhere just to go get what you want and then come back. And then, you know, you break a string, you're basically SOL.
So, yeah, it's a whole different. If you listen to whether it be, you know, European metal, American metal, you know, all this metal has so many different subgenres now, you know, and now Rez Metal is one of them. But it has a different sound, a different aggression, more of a, you know, a deeper meaning, you know, to most of the bands that come out of there.
Yeah, there's more of like a call to action and a search for justice through your music, it seems. How did all of you meet? How did the Rez Metal documentary and book find its beginnings? How did you all come across the band I Don't Konform?
Yeah,
I didn't. I'm gonna tell you, I didn't want to meet those guys. Actually, I was I was working on this documentary because I heard about this story, and I'm always looking for the topics that defy the stereotypes. and for example, when we're talking about the indigenous Native American music, the first thing comes in mind, the flute, powwow music, that kind of music. And so when I saw the heavy metal music, I read an article and it has nothing to do with IDK, I don't conform people. So I was actually already in the process of making a documentary about the whole scene. And then the person who was helping me, Kim Benchman, she knew Kyle, and she said, like, you know what? On the way to another event, let's just meet those guys. Completely different lineup. This is like 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. And I just stopped, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna meet those guys because on my way, it wasn't even planned or anything. So I met them for 1 hour and I wasn't even sure where it's gonna go. And then suddenly we exchanged, and then Kyle, a few weeks later, mentioned to me about him being in touch with the Metallica's producer, Flemming Rasmussen, is a legendary. Everybody knows him in rock and roll world, and he's the one who produced Master of Puppets. One of the most important rock and roll, avant-garde metal rock and roll musics in the past 20, 30 years. And when he told me the story, the whole story, I'm like, wow, that's amazing. We should really. And suddenly the film starts changing its angle, and really while we are dealing a little bit with the scene and some of the issues that is happening, but really start focusing on this personal journey of I Don't Konform. From rehearsing in this Hogan and this Zumba place in the middle of a garage, in like a little lot in the middle of nowhere, and suddenly, suddenly, and then and taking this journey to Denmark in this legendary recording studio. So I started like hanging out more and more and start documenting this, and there we go. And here we are, 5 years later, almost 4.5, 5 years later, we are sitting here and talking about it. It was a long journey. A lot of things happened in our life. I think both those guys over there and my own personal life and everything. Yeah, so it's a long journey. And so here we are.
Let me talk about it from my end, my side.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, we were practicing and stuff, and Kimberly, she messages me and says, "It's this guy out here. He's doing some documentary and stuff, and we're gonna come by and you guys play a song or something." So I'm like, okay. So we like set up and for like a show basically, and Ashkan rolls up and he wants to say hi and bye. I'm like, no, we kind of set
That's
up.
what was the plan.
I was like, no. I was like, come inside. We'll make you a fan real quick. And we started into the first, I think it was Defiant Breed. And the next thing I know, his big camera is right in your face like that.
Yeah.
Like that. And then from there on, that was, he wanted to hang out more after that. So, the music got him. He felt the music of that.
I bet.
The music was very different. I think it was definitely, you could tell there's something special about the music, and I was really hooked by the music. And I think also, I think the music is very important, but also there's a degree of charisma, with the band. So of course, Kyle was the one who does all the stuff, and it was a completely different lineup. I mean, this is a completely different lineup now, the IDK, and I'm just so happy that those guys are continuing, because it's very difficult because of a lot of issues to be a working band on the reservation when there's absolutely no opportunity and continue on. I think it's very difficult. So I'm happy that IDK is continuing, with different lineup. But that was the nature of it. You have the truth, like 4 or 5 different lineups. That's not nothing unusual. But I think it's a combination of the music, and also, I found Kyle to be a very articulate person, and as well as Gerald, who was, also I met him the second time when I was there. So I found those two people are very articulate, about their vision, and very driven, and I think that's also really, and also engaged. And I think that's something that really inspired me to pursue this documentary and take this journey to Denmark with them. So it was one of the most memorable, film experience I've ever had on a personal level.
Yeah, I want to hear about Denmark. I
But
it's a wild story,
ready
and
for-
then I want to know what your experience was like there, being
you-
native and then going to Denmark.
It's on film.
Yeah, you guys traveled to Denmark to record your album Sagebrush Rejects with Flemming Rasmussen, who recorded Metallica's Master of Puppets, Ride the Lightning, and Justice for All. Kyle, tell us how you hooked up with Rasmussen, and then please tell us what the experience was like in Denmark.
So I've broken it down into this as far as the experience goes. Is I understand now what it's like when a female goes out to a club on a Saturday night and all the dudes buy drinks for her. That's basically us in Denmark. Like everywhere we went, we were like, wow, you have black hair, and yeah, you look so exotic, and we're just wearing Walmart clothes, and and our shoes are all bombed out and muddy and dirty, but I guess they like that up there. But how I came to find or get in touch with Flemming was I was at work one day, and I pretty much was getting burnt out on doing the band thing because I was doing it for like 10 years, and I went through, like, at the time it was like 4 or 5 drummers, like 4 bass players, like 3 or 4 singers, and I was just like, I'm just gonna do a CD for myself. So when I'm older, I can say, yeah, I recorded my own album once, and that the whole Metallica Flemming was not even anything in my mind at all. But I wanted a certain type of recording, which is analog, like how they used to do it. Like if you put in an old Black Sabbath record or Van Halen record and you sit and you listen to it, it sounds like you're in the room with the band and they're playing. That's how clear it sounds. And these days, it's all computer. Digital. Yeah. So I didn't want that. And I was looking up just analog recording. And we all actually almost went to Albuquerque, some studio in Albuquerque. It would have been like 10% of what the price was going to Denmark. We could have stayed there for a week and recorded. But I kept, I always searched around, and I came across these pictures of notes of. At the time, I had no idea who the producer was. They had everything labeled out, from like amp knobs and angles of mics, what kind of mics, even temperature, humidity, all written out on these sheets, production sheets. I'm like, whoever this guy is, he knows his stuff. And so, and I dug deeper, and it was the production notes for a song called Blackened, which is the first song off Injustice for All album. And that's like one of my favorite songs, So dug deeper, I got his email, and I typed it up, and I basically said, my name is Kyle. I'm from the reservation. I have no care in the world for fame or nothing like that. I just want the best person to help bring what I hear in my head out the best that I can, And your work with Metallica is what started me doing this kind of music anyway. And that was it, and I almost didn't send it. I was like, there's no way this dude is going to respond to some random dude on the res. And I sent him a demo of our song Mosh Pit at the time. But I've always lived by one motto, which is fuck it. So I basically said, fuck it. What else can I do? Say no. Hit send, and like three days later he responded, and he really liked the demo, and he said he hasn't heard aggression like that in a long time. So he was interested in working, but he goes, it's going to be expensive, but he's willing to work with us, and it was, and from that moment on, like, all right, we'll do it. We'll somehow, some way, we'll get it. And we practiced and wrote songs, rewrote songs, structured them better. Because he really didn't have an idea of how the songs sounded. He just a few demos I sent him. So, But when we brought him out for pre-production, I wanted to make sure everything was ready. So we fundraised, me and Gerald. We're on the Rez. You have no car, no computer, no job, no money, but we were still able to throw major music festivals, events, having everybody else pay for it. And, by just, and I harassed the president's office every day. I think we went there for about a month.
Every day for a month.
Yeah, until they finally, they're like, they didn't want to see us. They, at the time, they didn't have no clue of what was going on in the youth scene. Like, metal was around, but they didn't really.
They weren't paying attention.
Yeah.
It was like beyond their radar.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we brought that forward into their office and told them, this is what's going on. And, like we didn't ask them for any money. We just asked if we could use the park or they can help us promote, what's going on and thing like that. And from then on, it was just drive, just driving every day to do something to get the word out and even just to host events in our community, because nobody does anything. Nobody hosts. They host a show maybe once a year, but me and Gerald, we threw together coat drives and charity drives and comedy shows, metal shows. We're doing that at least once a month. We were trying to. And since we left, nobody's doing it now. It's boring up there again. So we had to leave to get a job. But yeah, that's how I got in contact with Flemming.
That's so cool. I'm glad you did it. I like your motto.
Me too.
I mean, if you don't try,
Yep.
Yeah.
So I have a question for all of you. What do you think that it's like pulling teeth, it sounds like, with the president. But how do older generations on the reservation feel about the Rez Metal scene? Are they accepting? Are they involved?
They're not involved. They're it's either traditional Navajo music,
Yeah,
country music. That's it. And if you're not in that realm, you're basically, they don't really.
You're evil.
Yeah.
It's taboo. We went to radio stations in Gallup, New Mexico, and there was one called KGAK, I think it was. Yeah, KGAK is and we just asked them if they could put the word out that, there's a Navajo band going to Europe and, we're hosting this event. That was it, and they came out and they were like, oh no, we don't want that kind of music. We don't allow that kind of music here. It's right. Evil and
vulgar.
Yeah, it's just that, like you guys, so that the elders really don't like it. Our parents, like my parents, they love it. They like going out and seeing their.
They love it, yeah.
They like seeing their kids perform, and it's just that little gap.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's slowly being more accepted. Yeah, it's starting to shift. But there's just nobody pushing for it.
Yeah.
And so
I think President Nez is quite a metalhead, who was a then vice president when we were doing the film. He is definitely like a metalhead. We actually went to Metallica concert with him and and Kyle and Gerald. Was like 3 years ago. We went to that concert down in Phoenix. And I think he I mean, I don't know the details,
well,
but at least I think that it seems like I don't know. I mean, it seems like they see some value, the newer, younger leadership. At least that's my impression, but I don't know. I'm not an insider. That because the leadership is becoming younger, probably.
That's unbelievable. Well, we went to the show. We offered the VP a ticket, which he took, even though they were in the process of getting tickets anyway. And then they just end up walking around shaking hands the whole concert and had their own little booth and, kind of just gave the ticket away. But they just want to walk around, be political, shake hands, and look pretty, But that's what I got from that. event, you know. More of, as politicians are, you know, they want to be elected again.
Yeah.
More of an opportunity in an upcoming election year.
Yeah. But it's been quiet lately because I haven't heard anything about metal going on back home. I know COVID hit, but before that, it's, you know, when we were hosting events, it was booming. And once we had to go push the band and the music, we had to leave the Rez to do that. You know, it's you just have to venture out and promote yourself, you know. So
We're like JC, IPX, and we had a whole support system behind it.
yeah, so, and like there's a radio station in Gallup, 93.7. They helped us a lot.
7, 6.
93.7. They helped us, you know, they brought us in and they played us on the radio and our songs and promoted shows. So they helped out a lot too.
And our contacts with independent.
So it's just basically harassing people until they.
Gerald, don't be shy. Come on.
Yeah.
Gerald.
Just come show your face. Don't be behind the scene. You are in the both film and the book.
Yeah.
Please.
He's in the corner. Wait, hold on. We'll go to him.
Don't be bashful. I know you. You're not that bashful. No.
Yeah. So Jessica,
right.
can I ask a quick question?
Uh,
I wanted to ask you guys a quick question. Since I remember Gerald saying, you know, he's such a powerful, you know, you were saying that, you know, you put the Rez Metal scene in a, you know, historical context. I remember you saying, you know, New York has CBGBs, you know, the Bay Area has, you know, Metallica and that during the 80s, right?
Yeah.
And now we have the Navajo Nation has Rez Metal. So
Yeah, when you look at all the, you know, the breakthrough popular music genres
Right.
in the last 40 years,
Right.
it all started out as a niche group of people,
Right.
with
Exactly.
the outsiders, the subculture, people
Yeah.
who live on the fringes and have friends that are drug dealers and strippers and people that don't quite fit into everyday society. So like you have the people in New York at CBGBs, you have
Right.
everything that's going on in the Bay Area with Metallica, and then you have everything going on in Seattle
yeah,
in
of course. Right.
the early 90s. And then we wanted to make this one of the next breakthrough music subcultures, not just a genre, but also a subculture.
Yeah.
Because what we have to say, you know, it stems a lot from where we come from, cultural trauma, scars. Scars don't always have to be on a surface level. It's passed down. It's ingrained in our mindset, our emotions, where we come from.
The environment, you know, like they say, you know, cultural trauma is actually ingrained into the environment itself. You know, buildings can remember, you know, it goes deep, you know, and that's why you can't just whitewash everything, you know.
Yeah,
It
there's myriad of issues reservations face: socioeconomics, poverty, substance abuse, depression, and you've seen a lot of suicide. For I Don't Konform, would you say heavy metal saved your life on the reservation?
Yeah, because if without it, I would have imploded too, you know. I would, instead of taking my amp and blasting it, and I would have either, you know, blasted somebody else or myself. And, you know, just being able to play makes your chest feel better. You know, there's always like a weight on your chest, and after you get done, you know, playing or yelling to the mic, you know, it's stress relieving. Yeah, it's the best stress reliever for me. You know,
Guitar, having somewhat limited people that will understand what you're feeling, and then you turn to music, you know, you find certain songs that speak out and it resonates through your head, and you're like, okay, this is how I feel. This, you know, somebody actually wrote something that I feel, you know, or speaking in a way that's coming towards me. So when you get the opportunity to start playing, that's all you can do is just unleash everything, your emotions, how you're feeling. Try to overcome thoughts of suicide or going to get high, going to get drunk, having to deal with abusive parents or family members.
Yeah.
All of that comes out, and you have to find some way to expel all those sadness, depression,
And
find hope.
in those minutes of when you're blasting your guitar amp or you're singing, and when you're in the sonic frequency, you forget how shitty your life is outside of that. Like you're just in that moment, and you block everything out, and you forget about your crazy family members, coming home drunk and beating everybody up, and you forget all kinds of shit you deal with all day long when you play your music. So
I think one of the best things about what we're doing is you take something as universal as music, and these guys are able to personalize it, make it their own, and tell their story, tell their side of the story, where they come from, where they want to go, what's on their mind, how they feel. Now they're a part of something as universal as music.
Yeah, Native Americans are rich in oral history, oral traditions. It seems like you've sort of taken that to uplift a different part of the Navajo community and use aggression to illustrate a better narrative of all the wrongdoings and struggles Native Americans face. And there's a lot of other music coming out of Navajo Nation, hip hop, country. But do you think that you find more justice through heavy metal music expression?
Maybe it can help people see our side of it in a way, it all this happened unknowingly. Like it wasn't like I sat down to play music to want to justify everybody, and everything. So I think it could maybe help the outside realize what's going on, kind of like NWA did. It brought eyes on their what they're going through and what they did, and I kind of see it in a way that what we're all doing, and you sing about how you feel, and what you feel is wherever you're living, So I think it's been proven before in other genres that it can bring eyes on problems going on. So it has the ability, I think.
Yeah. And Ash and Nat, sorry. How did you stay out of the narrative when you were making this documentary, and why did you think it was important to document?
Matt, go ahead.
You go first, Ash.
Yeah, Ash.
Yeah.
I got my thoughts, but you're the master here.
No, why don't you go first, Nat? So I'm gonna just articulate a little better.
Well, I'll tell it maybe from the academic perspective, and I know that we, because Ash is the filmmaker, I'm, the historian, and I know in history and anthropology, it has a notorious history of going into Native communities. They call them the parachute anthropologists. They come in, they do their thing, they get their research, they frame the narrative, and they use Native people as the props in their story, and then they leave, and then it's nothing gets, then they get to say that they did this or that with Native communities, and there's no reciprocity, there's no stories on coming right from the folks that are producing them, that are generating the meaning. And I think that's what when I went to visit these guys, and after years of Ash going there and seeing them, seeing the relationship between them, and feeling everything they're saying, feeling that, like the meaning that's generated, the transcending the moment, creating community around that music. I mean, you don't have to say anything. In fact, talking about it, it ruins the whole, especially from an outsider perspective. It's really, I felt like at least my role was to just witness that and let, help that story get out as best I can without getting in the way. So, and I think the film that's what's beautiful about the film. It does that, and it lets these guys tell their story, and gals too, right? Because there's women who are also playing metal, and that's what makes it really special. It makes it amazing that, and of course, it's going to the high schools. It's obviously that, as they just said, it's the support is not as politicians do what they do, but there's definitely, like you guys said, there's a at least from how I see it, there's like it's more than just Native people playing music. As you guys said, metal is Native, right? There's something about that it is Navajo, right? It is, and that's, to me, is the most powerful part of this story.
I mean, for me, I'm usually attracted. What really is driving force for me to pursue any project is curiosity rather than a strong agenda or activist point of view. I had that, in my early filmmaking. One of my earliest films is a film about land rights in Western Shoshone, which I had a very strong activist agenda, and there's nothing wrong with it. I think there's a room for that, and there is there's a definite demand for that as well. I am just not interested in that. And I think one of the things from the get-go, when I was talking to everybody, including IDK, Gerald, and Kyle, and everybody, and I was saying, my goal here is to make a rock and roll film that takes place on the Navajo reservations, because that's a very universal thing, and I really want people to share their the common universal theme and feeling that it doesn't matter where we're coming from, and kind of get as close as possible to that experience that I went through while observing things unfolding in front of my eyes. So I think that was the agenda that I have, and that's why I really try to refrain from having a very strong activist agenda about things that's happening. I think there's a lot of film that is dealing with those traumas, and sometimes for me, I mean, for me as an audience, I found those not very attractive, because as soon as I saw a documentary about Native American or other minority, Middle Eastern myself, I'm an Iranian. Maybe also that's another thing that really attracted me to this project, this defying the stereotypes and this certain narrative that is attached to every single ethnicity or background, that if you're this, you have to listen to certain type of music, certain interests, etc. So I think there's a combination of both allowed me to really go and observe as much as possible. And I think that's why I was also organically form a very strong friendship with those guys. I mean, I always think I consider them as an extended family, which I really don't usually form that bonds with my subjects when I'm working on a film. And I think because the whole process is very long and organic, that's why, at least in my end, I feel those guys are my extended family, and I'm always looking forward to go back to visit those my friends. I think that was my angle when I approached this film.
So did your camera get all up in a mosh pit?
Absolutely. Marsh pit and a lot of everybody hated me, I think, because my camera was all over the place, and sometimes it's very and I think that's why it's very important to, and I think maybe having this relationship at the end of it, I think put everybody at ease, because for me it's not also very comfortable to just grab my camera in the middle of mosh pit and just try. I think it's very important to have that relationship, and if I didn't have that, if I wasn't welcome to this community, I think I would never be able to make this fun. I mean, I always felt welcome. I always felt that people are excited to see me when I go back, and I wouldn't go back just to film. I would just go back and hang out. I think that I mean, for me, it wasn't just go and work. For me, it was also, going and just meeting my friends and hang out. And again, that's very unique for me because, in our field, sometimes we have to make something and move on. But I think it's a very different. But also, I see this journey of these guys are going through, and also on a personal level, there's a lot of people in this film that are not with us anymore that are in this film. So there's a lot of personal connection and emotion while making this film and working on this book. So I think that's why it's a very unique place for me, personally, but also artistic.
I just have a few more questions, and then I'll go to the participant questions. We have a few of them. First, where can people watch the Rez Metal documentary?
Well, Rez Metal documentary is just started its festival run. It's already accepted to 4 or 5 film festivals. I cannot be very specific, but there's a possibility that we have something in Santa Fe area too. And I hope we can I hope I'm sure it's gonna be a very attractive if we go there because there's a lot of metalheads around. I will let you know if I hear about that. But right now, what we are hoping is to film festival to do is festival runs. The next step for us is so while is doing a festival run, we cannot have actual public screening for that, to make it available to everybody. But what we are hoping is to, in the next few months, we were able to find a distributor so we can actually distribute this, and make it very accessible to people. And we are actually exploring different realm. But right now, the film is on a very, very early stage of film festival circle to run, which is usually takes around 7 to 8 months, like almost a year or something like that. And again, the hope is to get some sort of distribution while we are doing this. And as I mentioned, it's already got accepted to like 6 or 7 film festivals. And we're hoping to get to a few more, and including one in Santa. I don't want to be very specific. I'm sure you can guess. There are not that many in that area, but we're hoping to get to something in Santa Fe area as well. And maybe we
Yep.
can do something around the same time.
Concert.
That would be awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe we can organize, if we get there, or one way or another, we can actually organize a concert as well, for sure. That's going to be, I think, a very good idea.
We're gonna get you guys to LA too.
Yeah.
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 The whiskey. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Working
I
on
mean,
that one.
LA,
Yeah, whiskey.
definitely. Well, we're actually hoping to get you guys, that's something, because we both live in LA, both me and Rez, Nat,
And
we
Rez.
both live in LA, yeah. And we're hoping to actually get those guys to California somewhere, one way or another. That's something we've been talking about the past 2 years. Yeah.
They are now our Navajo bros.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm a Navajo, bro. Yeah, and I loved it.
So what do you guys hope to people take away from the Rez Metal book and documentary? And what do you hope people take away from I Don't Konform's music?
Is that a question for us or for?
Yes, you.
Both.
Okay. For me, I want the book and film really inspire to do 2 things. One is bring attention to what is happening on the reservation and the type of music and the talents that are there. That's one thing, I think. Also, with the book, I'm also hoping to be able to, because all the proceeds of the books goes to this foundation, Native American Music Foundation, to buy instruments for youth. So we're really hoping to, inspire the youth. So, but by seeing that actually there's so much is happening here on the Rez, there's so many talented bands, to inspire people to actually pursue music, rock and roll, or any type of music. But also, I want to, by focusing on the story of IDK, I really want also inspire people that, you know, it doesn't matter where you are. If you look big, if you think big, if you aim big, something's going to happen. And you know, and I think one of the things that I'm an educator, and not only on the Navajo Nation but also the youth. Sometimes I'm amazed, you know, that there's so much resources out there, and there's so much things that you can actually do, and sometimes people just don't want to aim big or have a large because they're sometimes afraid of pursuing this. And you know, I always tell myself, you know, what do you have to lose? And sometimes I think, you know, desperation and you know, and not have lack of resource could be inspiring. And I think, you know, because and I'm not here trying to, you know, appease those guys, but while I was working on this film, sometimes when things was rough, professionally and personally, when I would see, you know, what those guys achieve, you know, from, I mean, you got to see where those guys are rehearsed. I mean, that like the guy Flemming Rasmussen, where he was rehearsing in the heats of the summer in July. What was it, July?
Yeah,
In the with no, it was like we were like sweating, all of us. You know, the condition that those guys are, you know, manage this. It really inspired me. And you know, and not again outside the film itself. It really things like, okay, things gonna happen. Just keep going, keep going. So I think that's what I'm really hoping, that people start thinking big. It doesn't, I mean, right now, I mean, yes, maybe 20, 30 years ago, it was difficult to access, but now you can find internet to send an email, send your demo reel somewhere. And, you know, and somebody like Carl, they did that. And here we go. 4 or 5 years ago, things are happening. And actually more things are happening, which I don't know if I can share. It's something I would let Kylo's guys happening, but things are starting happening. So, and I think that's why I'm actually very happy. That's what's so inspirational for me.
Maybe just I'll add something real quick before I give it over to the stars right here. I mean, just as a historian and someone who, you know, who looks at, I came to music late and metal late. So these guys have been schooling me. But you know, I see this also as part of, to Jaro's point too, about, you know, it's a spot on the, you know, this is like it's not even just that it's Native people playing metal, it's Rez Metal. It's a, you know, it's a subculture, as you said, right? And I think you see the same kinds of things happening across Native America, across Indian country. When you look at food, thinking about food sovereignty, thinking about other genres of music, right? You know, hip hop and reggae and everything. That Native people are making their own things. That they're doing their, you know, they're mixing things up just like everybody else, and they have a unique perspective. And you know, there's Native chefs that are working with Native farmers, and they're protecting their culture, but they're also, like everybody else, they're mixing it up and creating new culture. And I think that's the message that I think is, it's affirmational, and it's again, it's coming from the source here. And I think that's what's key, and that's what's most inspiring about this.
One of the things I really want people to take away from this documentary and the book is to remind people that we're still here.
Yep.
We're not something relegated. Yep. We're not a culture or people relegated to the history books, right, or the Hollywood stereotypes. We are still here. Right. And we are trying to maintain that balance between where we come from, who we are, and where we are going. Yep. Like, this is us being genuine. I want this documentary to come across as not just some outsiders coming in to fulfill their agenda for a documentary, but I want people to feel that, you know, this is just us. We're genuine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thanks for calling. Thanks for making us Navajo Bros.
You passed the test today.
So we have a few participant questions I'll ask. Let's see. Where can you find the music online? Do you have a website, YouTube, Spotify, and do you have merch to sell?
Merch. We are working to get more merch. We pretty much cleaned out our merch, and because of COVID, everything is on back order and everything. So hopefully in the next couple months, we'll have shirts and stickers and stuff like that again. Gerald's actually wearing one of the shirts and modeled.
These are one of the prototypes, long sleeve t-shirts that Kyle got a few months ago. What, last year?
Yeah, and then there's
That's nice.
it says,
That's a nice one.
Yeah.
Shut up,
and jam.
shut up and
Oh,
dance.
damn.
My cousin, me and my cousin Ed's motto. But we're all, I mean, basically just go to Google, type in I Don't Konform, and it'll give you all the links to everything.
Yeah.
We're on YouTube, there's Spotify. It's up now. We recently are gonna sign with a European record label, so
All right.
we're gonna have to take those down and then re-release it with them. So but right now everything's up. And I think they're gonna play our single video we made. The DIY video only costs $50, but if you do it right with the right images, with the music, it can be a powerful thing,
It's very powerful. I'm excited to share it.
So, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
what,
for the most part, all of the pre-label stuff you can get on Google. There are supplemental material about us from other people, from other companies that are interested. Documentaries and the music, our our DIY promo video for Hungry for War. All that can be found on Google and YouTube.
Thanks, guys. Okay, this medal has a few questions for you. So, is there any monetary support from the state on developing music and other extracurricular activities in the reservation?
no,
I'm
we don't know.
that is definitely not our department, but it would be a shame if the state or the Navajo Nation tribe do not relegate funds for artistic projects, artistic endeavors like that. But we don't know. We don't know if that's happening.
Okay. There are some.
The only way we've been trying to do that is through the Native American Music Fund. Which Michelle Flowers goes out of her way to make sure the kids have something to learn once a month. But since COVID, it's been on lockdown.
Yeah.
So.
And I put the link there to
check
the
into that.
Navajo
That's the only
Music
thing so
Fund. So if you want to support
Yeah.
music on the reservation.
They really need any support that
Okay,
you
here
can
you, Ash.
provide.
Hold on. We're having
technical difficulties.
So their next question is, there are some Native Americans in the metal scene, such as Enslayer and Testament. Are they incorporating music that appeals more to the indigenous people?
As far as Slayers, pretty much defunct now, but their music wasn't about, didn't have any Native American influences or messages about them. Testament has a couple songs they've released out on a couple of albums about that touch light on Native issues or have some songs that reflect their tribal messages and stuff like that. But not really. There really isn't a lot of bands out there right now that talk about Native American issues.
Yeah, like you have them. They're part Native and stuff, but I've never seen them really. I'm not 100% sure, but I never really seen them trying to do or give back or really,
invoke some type of awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From what I know, I could be wrong, but I've never seen him go out or anything like that. Soulfly, he comes out to the res a lot and throws shows. And
Max Cavalera
from Sepultura. As far as I know, that's the main, as far as famous metalheads go, that he tries to, do for their people. And he's from Brazil, but he comes to the res and performs too. So
he lives here in Phoenix, so he's really enamored with how the society here is, and he likes living here. He took up residence. So.
What are some of all your biggest metal band influences?
God, got time to. How long is your segment?
Much time we have?
For me, of course, Metallica, Ozzy, Randy Rhoads years specifically. Anybody really, you know, you can tell when somebody is putting their heart and soul into their music, and I can identify with that. It doesn't matter what genre it is or who it is, you know, you get inspired all the time, you know. But that started me off was, yeah, Metallica, Megadeth, Pantera, you know, the 80s metal.
Broad spectrum with me. Rock and roll, we've got blues, you know, there's
I like Still Dragon.
Is a Marky Mark.
Marky Mark.
Guns N'
80s
Roses.
metal, 80s metal, 70s, late 70s metal, you know, some punk rock, you know, across the board, you know, get into heavier stuff, Cannibal Corpse, At the Gates,
Van Halen, yeah.
even your Swedish metal bands, Gothic from Gothenburg, Sweden, Evergrey, they're all progressive metal. Anthrax, Megadeth, Metallica, Dio.
Yeah.
Black Sabbath, across the board. Anything that inspires us for me to sit there and bang the head.
Right.
Thank you guys all so much for sharing and for your powerful music, and I cannot wait to watch the documentary. In the meantime, folks can buy the book Rez Metal, check it out from your local library. Just participants saying thank you. Before we play this video, which is Hungry for War by Rez Metal Band, I Don't Konform. I just want to mention once more, if you want to support Native American music, donate to the Native American Music Fund. I put that link in the chat box, and proceeds of the book will also go to that fund. So support Rez Metal. Any last thoughts or words before I play Hungry for War?
Especially with the pandemic happening, everyone should have picked up a guitar and learned how to play at least a few chords by now.
Yeah, they said a lot of guitar sales went up like 500% during the pandemic. So we'll see. But I say thank all you guys like for being interested in this. It's still a shock to me what the attention it's getting, you know, like some random dude in the middle of the res who, you know, drinks beer and plays guitar could go this far, you know.
Yeah.
It's a trip to me, and for us especially, you know.
Yeah.
Me and Gerald always like sit there and like kind of laugh, like, do we really just do all that, you know?
Kind of like every time I come to town, or every time we have like a moment to spend some time with each other, we always just reflect on the process it took and the struggles it took to get from where we were in the Hogan, or Kyle jamming out in snowy weather with his cousin, to going to Denmark, and right now with everyone watching on your live stream, and you guys and your interest as well. Thank you guys so much. And you know, it's just nice that people know that we are still here.
Right.
Not just the heavy metal scene, but you know, Indigenous people.
Right.
And crank it up.
Live fast, play fast.
Yep.
With a few guys again.
Thank you guys. Now
Yeah.
everyone enjoy.
Yeah.
Hungry for
Thanks,
War.
Jessica.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you.